Welcome to Recording Rural, where we aim to foster collaboration within rural healthcare professionals. Through shared experience, hardships, and successes, we aim to improve the quality of life of individuals within these rural communities. Join strength and conditioning coaches Nathan and Riley as they dive into the world of health and quality of life in the rural Canadian North.
Yeah, Recording Rural. What is it? Episode?
No.
We've been saying 8 for a while. Let's go with 9.
Let's go with 9.
9 is my favorite number.
Oh, nice. That wasn't planned at all.
I love it.
Why is 9 your favorite number?
I was born September 9th.
Ah.
And then my hockey, baseball number was 9. Still my favorite number.
Did you play hockey growing up?
Yeah. I played as a kid from like 4 till grade 4, played boys. And then there wasn't a lot of girls teams. And then I quit and I skied for 2 years in Manitoba, if you can imagine. There's a small hill. I think it takes 30 seconds to go down and 5 minutes to go up. And then I played girls for 2 years and then Mountain Boys for high school. And then I AP'd on the high school team.
Nice.
Yeah.
So who's your favorite PWHL team now? Have you been watching it? Have you watched any games?
Okay, don't even ask me like who my favorite Canuck is because I am still learning their names.
Fair enough.
But I did go to the Jets game when I was in Winnipeg, so
nice.
It was fun. It was good.
Cool.
I'd say athletics has kind of been integral to your life for
Central. Yeah. I was saying to Riley earlier, I came from like a really active community. And I played softball, baseball, soccer. I ran. I worked at a gym in high school, and yeah, I was just always moving. I'm like, I have a lot of energy, so yeah.
Run on.
As you can probably tell.
Hey, that's okay. Yeah.
How many classes do I teach per week? Too many.
Nice.
Yeah.
You can plug this if you want.
I guess, what is your name? You should let everyone know what your name is. We've got right into like a little bit about you, but I guess name should be in there.
Yeah, Taylor Krymusa. So, yeah. I mean, so many things to talk about, but biggest thing is I'm relatively new to Smithers, obviously.
How long?
We've been here like a year and a half. I came from Winnipeg and love it. Like, it was the best move ever, and I just love this community so much and the people. And just like everything surrounding it. Like, this is like probably what my dream would have been when I was younger, to live in the mountains, and just, I love hiking and skiing, and it's got a great hockey program for my kids. Soccer is amazing, and then just general fitness. I find everyone's really active here, so.
Yeah. You said you grew up in an active community in Manitoba, is that what you said? How does that like town compare to something like Smithers? Like, what are like cultural similarities you see around activity?
It was much more like agriculture based, so I would say it was like planned sports or recreation was around like hardball and baseball.
Gotcha.
And soccer a little bit. Manitoba's not really known for its soccer, but I think now more so. And I definitely picked up soccer more I played women's back in Winnipeg. But yeah, no, it's very similar. I feel like when I see my kids being active here, it reminds me of, when I was growing up, and just has a good community feel of people just passionate about sports. And
cool. Yeah. Right on.
In the short time that you've been here, you've definitely got involved with a lot of groups and different things. What are all those things? And like, were you doing similar stuff in Winnipeg, or is it just when you moved here, these were some of the opportunities presented to you, so you decided to roll with them?
I think so. Basically, coming from Winnipeg, a little bit of a background. So I went to University of Alberta, did my dietetics, and didn't want to be a dietitian, which speaks to a little bit about my passion around preventative medicine versus treatment. And then actually after university went into a program at Natives at Vanswood working in furniture design. So I built furniture for a while. And I really love that. I love design and things like that.
So what are your thoughts on this iconic chair?
It's beautiful.
Yeah,
I love it.
Nice.
Can I refinish the wood though?
It is beautiful.
But the color's great.
Cool, okay.
Do you still do woodworking?
I have a shop. I do not have time. But I still do we'll do renovations and stuff on the house. Like I want to do all of it, but I just don't have the capacity. But yeah, so then from there, I kind of in university, I started doing fitness classes, and I would say from grade 12 on, I went from more sports based to then independent fitness, where I would work out and train, and I ran half marathons and things like that. And then got into fitness training and fitness classes. And then actually we spent a few years in Germany. So my husband played overseas. I played hockey and then taught a little bit too, because was a teacher now at air traffic. So we were there, and then so that was kind of having kids, raising kids, and things like that. And then moved back to Winnipeg, and I was at home for a while, and then decided to get back into fitness and got my full certification. And then always knew nutrition would be a part of it. I just didn't know how it would kind of fall into place. And my sister was diagnosed with MS, so she instead of going kind of the drug route, she went to a naturopath, and her and I worked pretty closely together with just finding treatment for her. And so she was able to stay off of any drugs for the 7-8 years she had MS, and then she had a stem cell transplant about 2 years ago. And then so in that time I got back into teaching and doing personal training, and then I was actually opening up a fitness facility in Winnipeg when COVID hit.
Right.
And I was a week away from signing a 10-year lease with Loblaws for a very fancy space, which would have been timing is everything. And so didn't end up signing that, and spent 2 years planning it, but it was a good lesson. And I learned so much about business and investors and just different people. Mm-hmm. And then from there, COVID happened and the world went weird, and then we were transferred. Yeah. Do we talk about that? We were transferred to, we were given lots of options, and I had never heard of Smithers, and so that came up on the list, and we Googled it, and we had to give our top 3 options. So we said Castlegar, Smithers, and Edmonton, because it felt like...
I'm glad we were before Edmonton.
Yeah.
Everything should be before Edmonton.
Yeah, and actually I'm really glad it worked. It just worked out perfectly, but...
just throw shade at it.
Yeah.
As long as it's not Winnipeg, I don't care.
Yeah.
And then we got Smithers, and I came into this community with very little expectation or planning. I kind of wanted to see... I think my main goal was to look at what was needed and how I could find a place for what I had to offer, and moving here and then seeing that there was a need in dietetics. We have one dietitian for the whole region, and so I decided to start doing my holistic nutrition out of a school in the States, and it was fun to I've been doing that now for 1.5 years, and I should be finished, in the next 6 months here. And with that, I just really want to use it in addition to what I'm doing. So classes, and now working at Northern Edge, and kind of seeing. I'm really quite open to what the future holds. So.
Cool. Did you how did you emotionally reconcile with the fact that you were letting go of this dream while flying all the way to nowhere, but that dream has still been kept alive despite the fact that it went through an enormous pivot?
Yeah, I think initially it was a huge hit. I'm not someone who I would say gives up easily, but there were a lot of really very blatant signs that happened. And there was, that week before we were signing, I had a few investors get a little bit, maybe cold feet, and then I myself was just stressed and not sleeping, and I was thinking, this is, in the beginning, the whole point of this space was for the community. And then by the end, it felt like it was all kind of on me, and it didn't feel like what it was really meant to be. I think that's probably the thing that just solidified that change. And then from there was, you know, like sadness and then relief, and then with COVID happening, you know, just trying to kind of keep, you know, moving forward with health and with giving back to the community. I did Zoom classes throughout COVID, and it took a long time. And I think then when COVID hit and the changes with even air traffic, so my husband's position was really unknown at the time because he was relatively new. It just made for, you know, our focus went immediately from something that was, you know, this loss to like, okay, now what? And then it all kind of came into place. And I've always approached life with kind of what's meant to be will happen. And I don't try and stress too much about the details, and I just, it will work out. So yeah.
How crazy it was it that we all did these like Zoom class things. It
Yeah.
like went from like, you were always in like a room with whatever 5 to 10 people or more, whatever it was, and you get to interact with them, and then all of a sudden we were on behind a screen trying to teach people how to do a push-up or a squat, and it just felt we all had to like adapt and do it, but it blows my mind that we even
and I was
able
at
to for a bit.
Totally, and I was at Manitoba Hydro had classes, and so I taught classes at lunchtime there, and they had a huge facility, and there was, you know, 30 plus people in class, and then I went to like, you're in just like small groups, or you just have a few people, and you're like, it's hard to get that. I mean, it became this really awesome thing that we came together and just supported each other, but it felt really a little bit empty at times, you know, like it was the people you cared about were there and you were supporting them, but yet you weren't really feeling like you were in the same room with someone, right? And I think that energy, I don't think we realize, you know, as we're speaking on a podcast to share all of these lovely things, but it's like that loss of like, hey, when you sit with someone, you actually have a conversation. You lose that when you go, you know, over a phone or over the computer. So
totally. A lot of like small interpersonal communication skills that you develop over years that come through like body language and eye contact and things that totally becomes irrelevant, and all of a sudden it's like, how good are you at technology? It's like, wow.
And I'm like, I'm really bad, so
how am I going to show my listening posture through my camera?
well, there's so many times where I videotaped something, or I was like taping something to post, I was like, oh no, that's never going anywhere.
I have a couple of those.
I'm like, do I sound like that?
I've definitely made videos of myself doing exercises and just been like, wow, I am not for everyone. This will be appreciated by a very small circle. So.
Well, if I can give you one compliment, I'll say this. We were talking about our kids not listening. One of the ladies at my class this morning was like, why is it that whenever I tell my kids something, they never listen, but then someone else says it and they listen? And I was like, oh, really? I know exactly how that feels. So I've talked to my kids about nutrition, movement, activity, all of this for how many years? Since they were little. They go to Titan, and Micah comes home like, guess what Nathan said? I'm like, shut your face.
He said broccoli was good. Why don't we eat more broccoli?
I was like, Riley does this with training. I'm like, good, that's why I send you to it.
For
so
sure.
Anna and Micah have found their trainers.
It's good, I feel like my wife listens now. So now I have a significant other that will like, but I can coach. That's nice. Some people can't do that.
No.
But I couldn't coach most of my family members. Probably.
Well, I was in Winnipeg just a few days ago, and I had taken my parents to the gym, and I got them back into fitness, just knowing how important weight training is as we get older, obviously. And took my dad to the gym, and I haven't been to the gym with him for a while. So he goes on the treadmill, and he's doing an incline, and I was like, that's awesome, amazing, let's go do some weights. He does 2 sets of leg press and 1 leg extension, and is like, I'm done. I'm like, Dad, this is not enough. So they half listen.
Yeah, right. Nice.
Yeah.
We had some questions about the whole Edge.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest reasons to get on and shed light on it, and I mean, also selfishly, probably for me and maybe Nathan a little bit too, like to get a better idea of what exactly is going on with it? What is it?
Yeah.
What's your role with it? And,
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was obviously, we had talked a little bit about classes, and I had gotten, Laura got in touch with me, and so she's the executive director of Saltos Gymnastics and now Northern Edge Sports Association, and they're now the same thing.
They're the same thing, right?
Northern
They're not
Edge
separate.
Exactly. Yeah. Northern Edge is kind of the canopy that then Saltos falls under, because the goal is to create this space that's, multifaceted. And so I was brought on in January as the community manager and fundraising coordinator. So she has been working insanely hard to make this happen, and it's been amazing. And there's a group of people kind of supporting that. And so basically I came in as we're now have all the plans. We have a cost, and my goal is to network within the community to get people into that space, either, the gymnastics club, which is quite busy now, but then eventually that additional space, we want to fill it with community members and groups that need extra access. And so that might be schools or just different sports associations and things like that. And then, it's kind of creating a relationship within the community, and then also finding the funds. So it's a fun job, and I think being new, there's advantage and maybe disadvantage, but I think probably more advantage, because I kind of don't care. And I go in and I'm not, I approach business and I approach different groups, and I know the goal of this is all positive. And there's no, background to it that I've didn't really work many other places before. And so I'm advocating for it and for the community more than anything else. So.
Right on. Yeah. There's no, if you're new to Smithers, you don't have any ancestral family feuds with anyone else in Smithers that you have to do.
But I'm learning about everyone else's family connections, because that's always a fun. That's your cousin. That's your
yeah. That's the thing.
Yeah. So then basically what it is the Saltos Gymnastics, the present facility, is there, and basically they're doing an addition that will be equal in size. The space will be an open gym facility, which is multi-use. So that was kind of the goal, to create a space that could be used for as many things as possible. They've just now put in a walking track on a mezzanine level, so that's kind of meeting the needs of so many people.
That's huge.
Yeah. And I think that's the big one, that if you look at different populations and you talk about safety and access during the winter months, because Smithers, it kind of hovers around that weird temperature of, it can get icy, it can get wet, there can be a ton of snow, and this will be a safe space for people to come. And then there's a dance studio and fitness facility, so a fitness studio. So just really multi-use space that's going to be, all in one space. And then the gymnastics will continue to function while this takes place and while it's being built. And so it's, I think when you look at the needs of the community, it's doing as much as we can with what we have in the space that's given to us. So.
Do you feel like there was some specific needs that were easier to plan for than others? Like in the process of going, okay, here's the needs of this community. These needs over here are easy. We can accomplish these. These needs over here, a little bit more challenging. Do you feel like there was anything like that where, or did it all just kind of like align? Like, has it all been very linear?
I mean, from my position of being able to speak on that, and that's where maybe Laura might have a little bit more of a history of it, because this has been something that has been, in the works for a while. But I think when I look at the planning of it, and I think when you see what is needed in the community, this space, is it easily, going to meet the needs of as many people as possible? Yes. I think it's slowly being built from, was it just an open gym space? And now we've kind of seen the needs of the dance studio shutting down. So let's put that in there and let's bring that group of people in. Or, working at the pool, or I'm doing fitness classes in a racquetball court. So it's, you know, we need just a general open space. I would say the harder part is figuring out where in the community you have groups that are underrepresented and how to get them into that space and how to break down those barriers. So like 2 examples of that would be, you know, you guys are in performance sport. It's easy to get those groups in. They're motivated, they're driven, they have goals, and you give them a space and they'll access it. I spent a bit of time last year at the high school working with, it's just called an interdisciplinary class. And so these are kids from local communities. There's some from Smithers, and they're kids that, you know, maybe don't fit into class environments as well. And so have a little bit more flexibility to their schedule. And multiple kids said to me, like, I wish I had access to a gym. And then you look at what's available right now, and there's all these barriers or intimidation to those spaces. And I think that's where we look at, so we're hoping to then create programs where we bring kids in those demographics and say, hey, this is your space. You can take pride in this space. You can feel like you have a level of ownership, and it's kind of a fresh start for them, right? So there's no one else really like that have like taken over that space and claimed it for theirs. And so we're hoping to say, hey, that's the group that we want to kind of see about how we get them in. And then you have to look at older adults. And I think whether it's older adults or low income, those are 2 really tough groups of population, because there's always a financial component. And so that's where we as a community of people are coming in to say, we're going to create this space and we're going to do our best to fill it based on whether it's grant writing or asking local business to come in and say, can you fund this? And we'll get these people in. And so not being from here, I would say if I went to my hometown, I could give you an idea of, you know, quite a few older adults who I know when I've now moved to Smithers, like I don't have access to that as much. So I think it's communicating in the town for people to start paying attention to where there is need. You know, if you have a neighbor or a family member, or you see a group of people that could find benefit, that's where we want to really push to get those groups in. So it's my role, I guess, has been slowly within this even small amount of time to see how that will all come together with time.
Yeah,
so,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's cool that it's also like that it's so recreationally orientated, being paired with like the exercise and health. I think a lot of times people will look at exercise and health context and it doesn't have a flash to it. They go, oh, I don't know if I want to be in a room moving heavy things, but it's like, well, this provides the opportunity to like exercise in a very classical sense if you'd like to, or you can make it fun if you want to.
Totally.
And it's like a huge social appeal.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's where, going back to what I did in Winnipeg, is I did like the standard boot camps, and I did, you know, private training and things like that. But I also worked with the Alzheimer's Society, and we did fitness classes for, you know, early to moderate onset Alzheimer's and with their family members. And so getting a group like that together. And then I worked at a hospital called St. Amant, and so we worked with individuals with physical and mental disabilities, and they were anything from, they were wheelchair bound to they were nonverbal. And so understanding the expectation of those populations is crazy, because I go into a boot camp and like, you have weights and set goals that a standard group would meet, and then you go into a group where you can't communicate the same. And by the end of a 12-week session, they're coming in with these smiles on their faces, and you can tell they're excited to see you. And then that makes you kind of rethink what activity and movement and how that works in, let's say, this facility. It's not always the same thing, and I think having that variation, we have high level of gymnasts in this building, but could we get people in there that maybe just want to walk for 15 minutes and like how to bring that whole group in, right? So yeah,
it's very like the building feels thematically similar to a lot of the passions that Riley and I have expressed, where you in rural communities, you don't have the luxury of specializing. You need to be a jack of all trades.
That's right.
Yeah.
And this building is like, it's a jack of all trades building.
Totally. Yeah.
Cool.
And I think that's where, like, you know, educating the community on, you know, there's maybe a preconceived notion that, hey, this is a gymnastics facility, or this is a high performance training facility.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, it is those things, and we want to make sure we meet the needs of those populations, but it is also a space where you want to go for a 20-minute walk, or you want to come into a space and learn a little bit about movement. Mm-hmm. Like, we spoke with the schools recently, and they were just talking about, you know, just general movement, and like teaching kids from a young age how to hop, or to do
like
a jumping jack, or, you know, like
basic physical literacy stuff.
100%. And so I think that having that, you know, that range of what we're offering is really the goal of every single person who is on this project. So, which is really cool, because I think it represents more than just one population. It is really, hopefully, a gift to the whole community.
Yeah.
I think it definitely will be. It's been some, like, in Smithers' eyes, the people that, obviously I've grown up here, but we've always talked about some sort of rec center or leisure center or whatever, and this seems to be moving in that direction, to be that fit.
Yeah.
With your, I guess, the 2 years when you were working on opening up your own facility in Winnipeg, and all the things you learned through those kind of 2 years, what are some of what's like 2 or 3 things that you're going to take from that experience now with your role in this, and, like, you know, maybe things you realize you didn't do so well, or maybe things you're like, oh, I crushed this part of it, I want to bring that into this journey on how this can start to develop in Smithers here.
Like, going back to what was happening in Winnipeg, and it was, you know, I was very lucky to have a community of people support me, and it was, you know, a group of investors that, for some strange reason, believed in me. But I think the basis of that was I was in a very corporate space, and I wanted to move more into a private space that I could kind of make my own at the time, but also it being solely the people that went there. Like, I wanted it to be something that they would create this community, that they would take pride in it, that they would enjoy and make their own. And so my hope was an opportunity. I think, and I really feel like the leadership here, in the same way, it's about giving something to the community versus making something that solely is, you know, 5 people's goal of having, like, there's very little pride behind it, in the sense that, like, they're very proud of what is going to happen, but it's not like an ego thing. And so I think there's a few things I learned from, you know, that whole thing in Winnipeg, and I'm probably not a business person. I'm not a great I'm not a great salesperson.
Yeah.
But
tax.
How can someone pay me to move?
Yeah.
So also, like, you want me to organize something? Like, I don't keep track of that stuff. But with that being said, I would also say, like, you know, I know what I'm good at. I know that if I can get me behind something that actually has value, like, I can sell it. I can push with passion and energy something that I really truly believe in. If I didn't believe in it, I wouldn't be in this position. I very strategically made that choice. I know that I'm better with good leadership. Like, I'm someone who I feed off of people who are driven, and I'm definitely surrounded by people who are insanely talented. And I think I'm a good complement to that. I also am, so going back to the woodworking, I love woodworking. I hated being alone in a shop for hours. So I feed off of people's energy. That's why I do classes. That's why I like working, you know, in a group setting. I just love people. And so if we can bring all of these different elements together of health and fitness and just like fun. Like when I run my classes, like we have fun. You get a good workout and you have a good time, but like you're laughing and I'm saying inappropriate things and people still come back. So I feel like
I have no idea what it's I never say inappropriate.
It's never said anything.
you gotta come to my class because then you'll be like, I'm sure you say many things. So I think that lesson and everything that happened there was, you know, it was business school hardcore for 2 years. I was lucky to have, you know, family that has legal background, and so I learned a lot that way. I also learned maybe in like a tough way that, you know, I always looked at people as like intrinsically everyone's good deep down inside, and maybe in those times I learned that maybe some people deep down inside don't have my best interest at heart. But I still am a very trusting, open person, and so going into this space, I will 100% continue to give my all and do what's right for the community. I can be a little fiery, so you know, like I'll work hard to get it done, and I think it's just because it's so easy to get behind something like this. So
Very cool. Yeah.
I got another on my head.
No, go for it.
Just so what's kind of the spaces, the goal to get built?
yeah.
Where do things stand right now that I guess people can know about, just to shed more light on, like where's things at?
Yeah.
What's kind of obviously I guess there's a money total goal, and
Yeah.
what are some of the ways people can get involved to help you out?
For sure.
Businesses can get a part of it, just
Yeah.
individuals.
The biggest thing is, you know, we've kind of done, as Laura will say, is all the unsexy things. So we have, you know, have all the planning and things ready to go. We've got all the drawings done. We've got some money raised to do some improvements to the present structure. So they're wanting to redo the roof and get that kind of ready so that when we add on that, you know, it's on a building that is maybe a bit more energy efficient too. So, and then we want to, you know, create a space. We have a small fitness studio where I do spin and there's Pilates up there, and we're going to try and expand that if we can, so that while we're in that transition stage, that's still functioning really well.
Yeah.
And then it's there once we're done. So basically we're at this point where why I was brought on is, you know, we're having a ton of meetings. We're having meetings with businesses. We're having meetings with, you know, different groups, even I would say beyond Smithers of like, if this facility is functioning, how can we get, you know, even from Kispiox, Hazelton, Whitsett, all the way to Houston, get every member of those communities in if they want access to it. And so it's really, we're at that fundraising stage. So I think that's where it comes in for me to say, whether it's through business or through grants, which Laura does a ton of the grant writing, it's about raising the funds. And so it's a $3.5 million project. There is some incentive because it's a town property, so there is some tax incentive for business, but I say if the town is behind it and business is behind it, this is something you want to be a part of and you want your name behind it, because I think it will be, we talk about preventative medicine. We look at the hospital right now and we look at, you know, our healthcare system is kind of at capacity. Building this space to me is like, yeah, it's a price tag right now, but as time goes on, you're going to have decreases in the cost of you know, hopefully those big expenses when it comes to general, you know, treatment in hospital. Hopefully we just get people healthier and moving and maybe in a more safe environment, and that's where I think you see that price tag initially, and it's hard to swallow, but I think over the long run it will just be such a benefit for so many reasons. So
If you're not going to financially invest in your health and the health of people that you love, what are you going to put your money into?
Totally. And I think we all talk about this. If you're not healthy, I mean, you can't be there for everyone you care about, right? So, and that's a big part of it.
3.5 is a huge number.
No, and I think that's where I think it's a very realistic. I mean, sure, it'd be great build a $50 million,
Yeah.
crazy, amazing structure.
The Taj Mahal.
Is that how it goes? Or is that easy? Just like
Yeah, this is
build?
awesome.
Just like that.
It will be 7 stories.
But I think this is a realistic goal, and I think when you look at what's needed and meeting those needs, I think it's a really doable thing, and I think it's doable in a shorter amount of time.
Yeah.
When you talk 15 years down the line, like that's a long time. You
Yeah.
know, if we could get this within the next couple of years, getting this built, if we can raise the money in a year and a half, start building, this can happen quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But it will be
Is that
the
kind of the time frame? The goal is like 3 years ish when it's all said and done. Before that,
I would
would
say
be-
like the goal is to raise the funds in the coming year and a half, and then from there I think the build is relatively. I'm sure there's going to always be hiccups, but
Yeah.
but if that was 3 to 5 years is kind of what I've heard on the back end of it, and the sooner the better.
Yeah.
It really will be based on those elements of support,
Mm-hmm.
because the faster we have the support, it will get built. So.
what do you foresee being some of the biggest challenges for like your role specifically? I guess with it.
Oh, that's a good question.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's the first time someone said that. And we're good.
I think probably it's more of a personal thing. Like I put a lot of pressure on myself to do things well, and I feel like if I don't meet those timelines, like for what my expectation is or what is expected of me, I think that's where probably I'll struggle with my role. I'm super passionate about it. Everyone I talk to is super passionate about it. It's not a hard thing to sell, but getting people to actually put money into it is the hardest part. It's like it's easy to talk about it and be excited about it, and so I think really making those things happen and getting business and even government behind it. I think that's really the biggest challenge, because I think connecting with the community, it's a breeze. Like every single person I talk to, they have needs. We can meet those needs. Those relationships are made. Everyone's super excited. It's just the financial side of getting that support, and it's easy for me to say, just give money, but it also comes with you need people behind it. So yeah.
When the new rink was going through it was a long journey of stuff.
Yeah.
But when you're in the new rink, there's on the wall the businesses and people and all this that put money towards stuff. Is that a similar, I don't know if business model is the right way to put it, but way that business can get involved? Like there's
100%, yeah.
not tiers of whatever they call different things,
Well, and
but
we do
that's
have
how
level of sponsorship.
yeah,
for
like
sure.
level of sponsorship, how people
Yeah.
can be involved and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, and there's the benefit, like I said, is any money that's given towards the building itself has tax benefits.
Yeah.
Some businesses really want to focus on programming, which is amazing too.
Yep.
That's definitely needed as well. But
But then once it's built, they'd be
or even present. Yeah, we're always looking for some of these groups that are maybe harder to get access to physical fitness or access to programming. Their biggest struggle is always financial, and so if businesses wanted to get behind it, I think even presently there's groups that even busing kids in, it costs a lot. It's maybe not always supported. They want to keep them just stay within the community, and so to bring them into Smithers from other communities, that's always something that is what I've heard over and over again is needed. The group at the high school, they raise money by selling pizza, and so if there is a business locally that wants to support a group like that, we are putting on programming constantly. The more access to funds we have, the easier it is for us to put these programs on. And then, those big price tags, the other thing about raising funds is the initial funds are harder to come by, and once you have those initial funds, then it's a lot easier for other businesses and other groups to get on board because they can see momentum in the project. So yeah.
What sort of like we've obviously been talking about this, but like if you're trying to communicate to someone what sort of humanistic investment they're funding, what like outcome they're going to be having on individual people's lives, like how would you measure that?
Because it really isn't just the building.
Right. If you're trying to communicate to someone like this is going to be your legacy, your legacy as far as it impacts people's individual lives, like what is that legacy?
I think it's creating a space where we're bringing people together, and I say this because I know everyone that's involved and working, and I think that those groups are just going to grow. But I think you're looking, one, for overall quality of life, and you guys know this. You train. It's like if I was to sit here and ask you, why do you do what you do, and what kind of positive benefits come from it. And I think, our jobs aren't always easy because it may be training, but there's like a whole other side to it where you are connecting. Like the running joke was we were always a bit of a counselor plus a, personal trainer, or a counselor and a fitness instructor. Or I think that the biggest thing for me when I look at the creation of this space is like really bringing one health and overall quality of life, but then bringing this level of confidence. I feel probably from the age of 20, 20s are always, I say this to a 20-year-old, I don't even know how old you are.
38? How old are you?
I don't remember.
You guys are both like, I'm 24. Oh gosh, I remember.
How old are you?
25. Currently.
In 2 days, he's
In
20.
2 days. What day is it? The 20th?
I don't know.
1 or 2 days?
It's episode 9.
Sunday. It's episode 9.
I'm probably 27 to 28.
So confidence, you guys, I mean, maybe for guys it's different, but in my 20s, confidence wasn't always there. And I think, you have kids, and for me, fitness and exercise has always brought this like really amazing level of confidence that maybe other areas of my life I've been less confident. And so starting kids off with a confidence of movement, a confidence of ownership, a confidence in their health, and maybe a level of control they have over it, a space they can come and have fun versus, life is hard. Homes aren't always, stable, and, school is not always easy, and friendships aren't always easy. And so I think we're creating a space that kind of like really creates a bit more joy and fun and happiness and in these lives. And so, but that's my connection to fitness and movement and exercise. And I think I'm seeing that in my classes, and I think I see that through the gymnastics club. I know with my kids, like my daughter will kill me for speaking about this, but she had a really hard time for her first year here. It was a big move. COVID was brutal on all of our kids. Moving here was probably not an ideal thing for her. And getting her into Titan with you has been a game changer. So I should say, as we tear. But it's been like, those are the types of things that I hope that with the different groups, or even having an older adult that maybe is living alone, getting them into a space where you're checking in. You're like, hey, it's nice to see you. Like, how's your day going? Like, can I do a couple laps with you on the track? Or, hey, come to my fitness class. And Riley still hasn't come to my spin class, but we're
getting there.
But like, those are the types of things that I think that's the legacy that I would say would be sold to someone. Does someone like their name on a wall? Their name could be on a wall, and that might have value too. But I think it comes to quality of life and overall happiness is what I would say would be sold. So.
Totally. Like the confidence train of thought can extend so long as well. It's like there's so many severe mental health issues that are exacerbated by geographical isolation and less sunlight that, like confidence, becomes like a solution to mental health issues.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've always said, like, if anyone comes to my class or anyone that I meet, like my parents were amazing. They taught me, you treat everyone the same, and I really feel like that's super important. And so when I have people come to class, I want everyone to know, no matter what level of fitness or what they're bringing or what baggage they have, like, you're gonna come, you're gonna have a good time, you're gonna get a good workout, and there's no judgment. And I hope that is a bigger part of this space. And I really feel like if you even look at the gymnastics club presently, you've got different levels of skill, and still it kind of is so cohesive. So I think it's already the foundation set, and I think that's just going to be translated into that next space too.
Yeah.
Very, very cool.
I like that connection piece. Like when I envision the space, I think it'd be so badass to have, like, someone that's maybe a little bit older that is on that walking track, and you have maybe the dance classes going on, and then you have just a mix of people down in maybe the weight area or whatever, and it's just this like intergenerational of people doing something for their physical health, and that connection of just like, oh, it's Bob that always is walking the track when I'm here, and I'm this 16-year-old athlete, and you just like always see Bob, and you give him knuckles, and how's it going, Bob? And like that,
totally.
I like that shit.
Yeah. I know, and it's the same, and it's like when you go to the pool on a Friday morning, and there's Aquafit with like 30 people, women, mostly women, maybe a couple men, and then you have the little ones coming in, and like just that, seeing like this older generation with this younger generation, and they're both there to do, one, to have fun and move and be active, and I think that will be something that's really cool, seeing that cross of individuals. And I even say now, like we have like a tiny talk program where it's a drop-in, and you have grandparents bringing in their grandchildren, and you see them playing in that space already, and it's beautiful. Like, I'll be running classes, and you just look over, and these kids are just bouncing, and you've got grandparents trying to bounce behind them. So it's really great.
That's cool.
Yeah.
We had a lot of conversations when Titan first opened about how crazy it is to see people from like oppositional worlds like sharing space and exercise context. We talk a lot about how exercise is like so vulnerable. It's so like exposed that to be around someone who, as far as your life experience has been, is the other.
Yeah.
They are the person who's different from you, person that maybe you have a tendency to be more nervous of their opinion, or maybe the opposite. Maybe you tend to care less about their opinion. But all of a sudden you're in this intimate space together, and it's just more human.
Yeah.
We had something like really cool.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's where like the traditional gym facility is. Like, I went back to Winnipeg and went to Good Life, and I love my old gym. And I've always gone in as a female with like no qualms. Like, I'm like, I'll do whatever, there's no judgment, I don't care. But I know there's a lot of other females, friends of mine, will be like, I can't do it, and I'm like, I'll go with you, and I'll, and I think that this space will be different because it will be a reflection of so many different populations. Whereas maybe a normal gym in the city or in a small town would kind of be like, hey, that's the bodybuilder gym, or that's the gym where the older adults go. And so I think this will be, a space that maybe all of them can come together and kind of be okay and enjoy it regardless. So.
Yeah. It's a lot easier said than done though too. Just from like I have the same views. Like, I couldn't care less who's on a bike next to me or doing a deadlift or doing whatever. Like, it's just cool to see someone else in there. Like, I don't even have to be talking with them. I'd way rather there be like 50 people around me while I was working out, because it's just like fun to have other people around. But like, even if it's you have like the best, call it staff or social media voice of this is an inclusive spot, it's so hard to still, at a point, because it does come on like, I feel comfortable, but someone, whether you say it's inclusive or not, just within themselves, they might feel uncomfortable.
But I think that comes with like earning it, right? So like, even in classes, because that's my reference, it's like, it's that one person who comes in and takes that chance, and then they are allowed allowing themselves to be vulnerable, and then all of a sudden they're comfortable.
Yeah.
And then they tell someone else that like, hey, I wasn't comfortable before and now I'm okay and I actually feel really like good in this space.
Yeah.
You should try it too. And I think that's kind of that domino effect of it's about getting people in there, and that's really my goal as an instructor, is to get people in and always make them feel the most comfortable. Often by making fun of myself, which I really enjoy doing.
Yeah.
And then it's like it breaks down those walls, and I think if it wasn't, if it didn't work, people wouldn't come back. But I think people come back because it's like, you're here, you have a goal, there's no judgment, this is your space, own it for the hour you're here, and go on with your life, and like until next class. So
that's what I really like about with this future space.
Yeah.
All these, like the dance spot or the fitness studio, like all these different areas where if someone finds their little niche to start, great, start there.
Yeah.
But they're going to be always getting exposed to all these other things there, that it might be like, you know what, maybe I will try this whatever class or this thing to do in there, and next thing you know, they're like utilizing the whole space and they're bringing other people in. And
well, and I think that's what it, like with the walking track, because that was a bit of an afterthought, and it will cost more, and there's some engineering elements to it that is making it more difficult, but I think it's the thing that's needed the most, which will bring in probably those groups that are most unlikely to come to class.
For sure.
And so if you get them in going, hey, like maybe I'm not confident, but I can go for a walk.
Yeah.
And then they see like, hey, that person kind of looks like me and they're doing a class.
Yeah.
And then like, I'm going to take a chance and do a class. Or someone joins them walking and, convinces them that they should come to class. Or just that even if walking is enough, I think it gives them the opportunity to slowly, go from this level of comfort even to like one step up. Yeah.
For sure. I think like the crossover opportunities and the exposure opportunities, you take a lot of people who will begrudgingly show up, people who have been forced to by their family members, or they feel obligated to, and then it grows from an obligation to something that they enjoy. They get
100%.
exposed to something, to enough varieties of movement that they can form a love for movement.
And I think that's where you go back to like, I was raised moving. I mean, my parents, I was the youngest of 4, and they were like, get out of the house, go climb trees, go play in the creek, whatever it was. And I played a lot of sports. So I have this passion for sport and movement from the beginning of my life. And I think then you look at a population that now we maybe have a group of people that don't have that. So how can we incorporate them? But then also jump into that youngest of young and then get them excited about movement to get them back to kind of what I was exposed to. So it's like, it's really a difficult thing to kind of meet the needs of all different people coming from different backgrounds and different opportunity. But I think that there with this space, you'll really have that chance to kind of create just a community wellness that is beyond what we presently have.
Yeah, it really does. Like, I know everyone says this, and like having recently moved back to Smithers, Smithers is a unique place, Smithers is a unique place, Smithers is a unique place. You hear that a lot, but this really is like the sort of project that couldn't survive in so many other towns of a similar size. Like it really is like the opportunity for something to grow in a condition that maybe in other environments or other communities it wouldn't grow, but because of our geography, it also has the opportunity to expand into other communities.
But I think too, like we were chatting about this the other day, is like this town has some amazing people, you guys being included, that are super passionate about health and wellness and are super knowledgeable. And I think that is, such a huge component of what this space could be, is bringing in all of, us individuals who are passionate about community health and really, making that space our own and creating programming and getting our groups in, because you are at capacity at Titan. It's an awesome space. It's great to have, but imagine opening up a gym space for you guys to just do some fun stuff, and I think that's where, a lot of the people that are now behind the project are are all, you know, very talented individuals, and that's where I would say Smithers maybe is also very different and lucky, because I really feel like coming from different communities in such a small population to have so much knowledge and passion. I mean, there's a lot of really cool things that are gonna happen in the future here. So
Yeah, for sure. I don't have any more questions.
No, that's good.
That's
Thanks,
it.
thanks for joining us.
Yeah,
anytime. Yeah.
Episode
9.
nine,
Probably not.
probably.
Definitely 9.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool.
There we go.
Oh,
Cheers.
yeah,
Oh, we didn't give you a mug. That's all
Here,
right.
you can take this mug and you can cheer with
Cheers.
that.